Hello humans. Today I have a SOG knife. Oh my god, it's too big for the screen. Okay, well, we're gonna pop into this. So this is the SOG knife and tool bladelight Hunt. So it's the Hunt version of their light up blades. It's a thing. So I don't have another SOG, so I'm using this thing that I made at school. Let me just... open. So SOG itself started in 1986, and it was started by some US ex-servicemen, designed specifically to make sort of tactically inspired tools. I'm just going to take a look over this, see if there's anything interesting. There's tons of the name SOG everywhere. This is pretty busy. It's got a 30 lumen light built into the handle. Yes, it does. It's this thing's entire gimmick. It's got a non-slick rubber handle for improved grip. That is what rubber is usually used for. Fine grain leather sheath. Sure. I'm sure that's the official quality of the leather. In case you didn't know, leathers actually has like different gradings, like a lot of materials do. And if something says genuine leather, it means it's the second lowest grade of leather. So it doesn't say genuine leather, it says fine grain, which is quite a bit higher leather certification. I don't know if it actually is or not. I'm not going to hazard a guess. Oh man. Made in China. And so SOG makes some knives in the USA, makes some knives overseas in Taiwan and in China. Those are separate countries. Get fuck China. It is designed in Seattle, Washington, which I could theoretically drive to and yell at them for creating something like this, but that feels like a waste of my time, seeing as how they got acquired. Is there anything interesting about this? Blade length 3.8 inches, overall length 8.5 inches, satin polished finish, sure. 8CR 13 MOV with a Rockwell hardness of 56 to 58. That feels both appropriate for 8CR, but also really soft. The handle is glass reinforced nylon and TPR. I don't know what that is, but I don't really care. Yeah, not too much funny stuff on the case. Oh, this is funny. It says water resistant on the side there. I don't know why it says water resistant, but it does. And it has a lifetime warranty. See? Lifetime warranty. So when I break it, I can send it back to them, I guess? I wonder if they honor that nowadays. Anyways, so the bladelight sort of family started off in 2012 when SOG... there's so much plastic. Started off in 2012 when SOG sort of entered into the flashlight space. They decided to make a line of tactically inspired knives to go along with that. Of this series, they included a Hunt model. There was a folding knife and a couple of different tactically inspired options. I think one was specifically for police. Seems like a dumb thing to me for the police to have their flashlight also be a knife. That does not sound like de-escalation, but this is from the States, so what do I expect? This continued onwards. They've continued making these until 2019. Late 2019, early 2020, they were getting bought out, and they completely revitalized the line to change sort of what they were making. And one of those things is they stopped making these gimmicky... I don't want to call it a joke, because it is a serious product, but like gimmicky do-it-all sort of tools. It's not to say multi-tool, because it's not a multi-tool. This is something that is designed to cover two completely and utterly different areas. The leather sheath feels okay. Does look like pretty full grain leather. It has this retention snap on it, which is nice, I guess. It's got a big belt loop, big-ish belt loop, which I like. Overall, it's very soft feeling leather, but it doesn't seem to be too bad, although there's some QC issues on the actual handle. You can see where the paint and the glue were sort of muddled together. But other than that, ooh, it's got a drain hole. That's pretty clever. I actually do appreciate that. Because on leather sheaths, you sort of need to leave either a little bit of a space right there or some kind of a drain hole, because if water does get in this, it might not affect the stainless steel blade, but it will damage your leather quite a bit. So having a drain hole to help it dry out is nice. I don't know if it's 100% necessary, but it is nice. I don't have too many complaints about this, to be honest. It's a perfectly competent sheath, other than that slight QC issue, which I understand, big company, yada yada. I just don't like it very much. and I like complaining. So yeah, like I said, there's a lot of plastic in this. Like, this literally could be half the size. Just ship the knife in the sheath. It's not going to harm either one of them. And you require half the plastic. And then don't add this top insert piece. This is completely and utterly unnecessary. Just have one piece that it sits in. And then maybe put like a thin piece of plastic on the cardboard box. The only benefit of not doing this is now I can recycle this. Once I take this piece of plastic out, I can recycle this box and it's fine. But too much plastic, guys. Come on. This is a massive fucking problem. Okay, so first thing first, this lanyard loop is a little bizarre. It's just a smidge. You're supposed to be able to put a lanyard on it, but the only way a lanyard is actually going to fit is if you're holding it sideways like this, and even then, that's a little bit of a tight fit, I think. I genuinely think this whole product would be better off if it either didn't have a lanyard hoop or they'd done the work to properly make one. This jimping it's really short, like it's not useful in most hand grips. You have to be pretty far back with your thumb. I don't know what you'd be doing, but if you need 3 jumps right here, you got them. They're good. Oh, right at the camera. It does have a flashlight, a fairly high lumen flashlight. They claim 30 lumens. I have no idea what that actually means. I think most handheld flashlights get into the hundreds of lumens, so should be better than that, but it lights stuff up nicely. What a ridiculous product. So like I said, these were discontinued in 2010. I did manage to get this one here at a retailer that just had one lying around. This is why you go into small local stores when you want to find weird stuff. Sometimes they just have leftover stock that they bought 4 years ago and are still slowly making their way through. Like, this is a ridiculous knife, don't get me wrong. I think it has limited applications, and I will get into them in a little bit, but finding something like this as just a unique piece of history and of SOG's past, I think is pretty cool. And the fact that I managed to get it new in box for the original retail price, not retail, it's not even the MSRP, because this is lower than the MSRP was, whatever special price they got, and marked up whatever they mark up, I managed to buy it at that price. So getting it at like the price that people could buy this at when it first came out is pretty friggin' awesome to me. This knife reminds me quite a bit, actually, of... Let me see if I can find it real quick, if I continue talking. Here we go. The old-timer Littlefinger. This guy right here. Like, it feels like a big version of this a little bit to me. I don't know if anybody else sort of sees this, but it could just be the fact that it's got, like, this guard and then this big old... Now we get to the part where I forget what words to use in this situation. Choil. This large finger choil right behind the blade. This feels like a bigger version of my old-timer, which is nice. Like, the design elements overall I quite like. It's got this full flat grind. The final stock is fairly thick, which I do like on sort of a hunting game processing style knife. It's got a straight clip point. It's got a nice finger choil, so you can get right behind the blade if you have to do anything. I don't like the jimping, and I really don't like this pocket clip. I think that as far as integrating a flashlight into a knife, this is done the best way possible, with a independent button like fully on the back, not anywhere you could accidentally click it whilst you're changing your grips, unless you were to like, but that's just a dumb thing to do with a knife, more or less in general. It's actually, so I don't know if I mentioned the blade steel or not. It's got 8CR13 MOV, which is a little bit of a cheap steel for a knife that cost me like 80 Canadian dollars, but okay. It doesn't have the steel on the blade because that's nothing to be shouting about, fair enough. It's got SOG bladelight on the blade, which, alright, fine. It lights up pretty nice. So what actual applications do I think this has? Well, I think that if you are a hunter or a fisherman who likes to do some evening hunts, or, for example, if you're the type of person who wants to start processing your game immediately after you bring it back into camp, you know, you're out during the day, you take a nice bucket like 4 p.m. or 5 p.m., you start bringing it back, the sun starts going down, and you want to process it right away, I can understand wanting an independent knife on, or an independent light on your blade, as well as like a headlamp or something like that, because it does give you a little bit of a better view of where your actual knife is going and what it's doing. So for that one very specific use case, I can see it. Maybe if you're like a diver or something like that, although I don't think this works underwater. If you're into like cave spelunking, where you're doing like long travels in caves and stuff like that, I can understand wanting to have a better view of where your knife is and where it's pointing. And I think that if you're this is a little bit heavy, I think, for an ultralight backpacker, but if you're doing like ultralight cave spelunking, because, you know, it's not a dangerous enough hobby for you already, I think taking it, something like this, isn't bad. Like, it's a fairly ergonomic shape to be pointing as a flashlight. How badly washed out? It's not too badly washed out. Yeah, like, this is a fairly ergonomic, I mean, I'm clearly threatening anything in front of me, but I do think it's a fairly ergonomic shape to hold as a flashlight. You know, I can point it forward with no difficulty. These grooves are nice and comfortable. It's just a little bit of a gimmicky product, and I think that that's okay. I do think there's limited use cases for it, and I do expect to carry this if I do like a minimum items carry sort of a deal. Like if I decide one day that I'm going to go out and be like, haha, I want to cover all of my EDC in like 7 items today, right? There's some things that I don't really get a choice about. My phone, for example, I don't have a way of carrying less of my phone, but I don't need to carry both a flashlight and a knife if they're one product, the same way that I don't need to carry both a pen and a lighter if I have my Ronson pen light. It's a ridiculous thing. I'm very glad that I do own this, and it's going to participate in sort of my rotation, because I don't think it's a bad knife fundamentally. Like, I don't think that it's particularly flawed for having a flashlight in it. It's not any wider than I would want it to be normally. It has all the same grip positions that I would want normally, and it's not severely compromised by the fact that it is also a flashlight, except perhaps in strength. I don't know, I'm not going to torture test this to death, but perhaps in terms of like strength, it's a little bit weaker, but I would argue it was already not going to be a full tank construction anyways, so that doesn't matter. There's some knurling on the back here, so I can switch out the AAA battery. That's fun, we love us a AAA. I do wish it was AA battery, but I understand why it is not, if that makes sense. A AAA battery or a AA battery would have taken up quite a bit more room. You would have had to slightly redesign the handle, and I understand not doing it, but I do find it a little bit frustrating that it's a AAA instead of a AA. But that doesn't matter all too much. Overall, it's not a bad knife. It's not a great knife. It's a gimmicky knife, and if you find a use for this gimmick, I'd tell you to go out and buy one, but they're getting pretty scarce unless you want to go on the secondhand market. If you want to go on the secondhand market for one of these, make sure you want it, because these are weird. Yeah, I don't have very many other thoughts. The aesthetics don't really speak to me. The sheath speaks to me. I like the sheath. Like it is genuinely a fairly nice sheath. I think that the knife inside of it ruins it, because I don't think they match at all aesthetically. I think it should have been like a thermomolded plastic sheath or something like that, but hey, we got leather, and I'm never going to complain about leather. I do like it. Oh, I have a little bit of a complaint, though. I'm trying to end this video, and I keep on finding new things to talk about. I'm sorry. It feels rattly. Like, I understand that it's a leather sheath, so it's never going to be, like, perfectly fit in there, but it feels like there's a pinch point right about here, and the whole knife is sort of bouncing back and forth in the sheath. Like, this right here, there's nowhere for it to move to. It's being held in very, very securely by the way the leather has been formed around it, right? Like, this isn't going to rattle around. And I expect roughly the same for most sheaths, but I don't know why it is. Probably just because the gap inside is a little bit too big. It never got sort of tightened down enough. It's just a little bit rattly. And like, I can feel the tip of the blade bouncing up and down in here, which may wear it out sooner. I don't know enough. Like I said, this is going to go into my rotation. I do plan on enjoying this quite a bit, but it's a weird one. And I would only recommend it if you like weird things, like this idiot, or if you have a very specific use case for it. Like I said, if you're into night fishing or night game processing or what have you, I can appreciate this. for those reasons. Cave splunking, weirdo, but you go you. Yeah, that is the SOG Bladelight hunt. Yeah, stay safe and have fun out there, guys. Peace.